All right, Denise, the show is yours.
All
Let's make it
right.
happen.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for taking some time out of your Friday evening to join us for this presentation. My name is Denise Valenti. For those of you that I don't know, this is my husband, David.
You doing?
We've been travel advisors with Cruises Inc. now for about 2.5 years. And we've always just loved traveling, seeing new places, experiencing new cultures, new foods, wines, of course. And so that's really what brought me to Cruises Inc. and wanting to share that passion with other people, with helping them plan their vacations. And we've always taken pride in high quality and in excellence in customer service and just really treating our clients the way we would want to be treated on our own vacation. And so it's really something that we enjoy. I love planning trips and researching new destinations for people and really taking some of the stress and the headache off of you so that way you can do more of what you want to do, and that's enjoy your vacation. And so we have a wonderful partnership with AmaWaterways. I really fell in love with river cruising and AmaWaterways as a brand last year when we went on our first river cruise on the Danube. And that was just an amazing experience. I could sit here probably for the whole evening talking about it. But from beginning to end, it was nothing short of excellent, high quality. The staff was amazing. And we even had the privilege of sailing with one of the co-owners, Christine Karst. And she's such a delightful woman that you can really just see the love and the joy that she has for what she does and for the rivers in Europe and everywhere that they sail. And those qualities that she has really is reflected in all of her staff. And you can really see why AmaWaterways is just such an excellent company. And it's really what inspired me to open up and have this group in November of 2022 in south of France, because we really wanted to share that joy and that love of river cruising with all of our friends and family, with your friends and family, with our clients. And so it's what inspired tonight, this presentation. And we really hope that you enjoy what you see. And that's what we're going to do now, is just learn a little bit more about AmaWaterways and then the river cruise that we have planned for 2022. So with that, just turn it back over to you, Herlin, and you can take it away for us.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Denise, David, for again the partnership. We wouldn't be where we're at today if it weren't for your support. And again, thank you for all of you also joining us this afternoon for what we call a sip and sail cocktail hour. So cheers to everyone here on a virtual toast all the way here from Miami. Thank you so much for everyone joining us. Let me take a quick sip before we get started. So thank you so much again, folks, for the patience in this new virtual environment. Here, again, in the screen, we have, again, Denise and David Valenti with Cruises Inc., luxury cruise specialists. My friend and colleague, Sebastian Leroy. He's been with our family and company for the past 10 years. The onset's been a cruise manager. But before that, he's been a winemaker. So that's why I said, let's bring on Sebastian here, because he knows what he's talking about when it comes to wine, okay? And myself here, yours truly, Herlin Ruiz. I'm the business development manager for AmaWaterways, covering what is the South Florida region for this company. I joined the family about 3 years ago after spending the majority of my career on the ocean side of the business. In fact, about 22 years of my career on the ocean, and did a fantastic transition 3 years ago into the river, sailing the beautiful Upper Danube with my wife on our first cruise. And again, on a river cruise is all about that culture immersion, as you see here on this current slide. I always like to present this as oceans take you to countries, rivers take you through them. And that's in fact what you see here. You're part of this ancient world, landlocked on both sides, navigating through the heartbeat of these countries in a very convenient way. You know, you get up to opportunity to immerse in 5 different countries in 7 days, or here on the Rhine, up to 4 countries in those 7-day journey. I did this cruise this past October, and I got to say it's quite magical, especially when you pass through the Rhine Gorge area. There's about a 6-hour span where you constantly see castles and citadels and fortresses. Again, folks, this is old world Europe. So again, a place where kings and queens were crowned. Famous music was performed and orchestrated by the likes of Beethoven and Mozart. So again, it's all about that culture immersion, being at the heartbeat of these countries. But before we get started and talk about the hardware and the amazing destinations that we offer, and get my colleague and best friend here, Sebastian, to talk about the wines through the Rhone River. Again, the heartbeat, the private and family-owned business that we are, is what truly differentiates us from the competition. Again, our company is known in the industry as being the optimal river cruise experience because of that marriage between the software and the hardware. And here on the screen, you'll have Rudy Schreiner. You see my mouse scrolling right over him. He's known as the godfather of river cruising, a mastermind when it comes to the the launching and the growth and the evolution of river cruising in throughout Europe. He actually led the North American sales effort for Viking over 30 years ago. But that entrepreneur spirit has said, I want to begin my own company, design my own ships. He, in fact, graduated as an architect from the university. So again, he goes into designing our ships with a lot of key innovations that really sets us apart from the competition. And again, it all starts with this individual here, but we can't forget his radiant wife and co-owner, Christine Karst here. These individuals come from Europe. So again, a lot of clout in all of Europe, and making sure that they got the right relationships with the partnerships and operations to make sure we bring all that great quality for our guests and our partners to enjoy on board a ship. But Rudy Schreiner from Vienna, Austria, Christine Karst from Dresden, Germany. Can't forget our third co-owner there, Gary Murphy, sitting on a rickshaw through Vietnam. But again, it all started back in 2002 when we started the company initially as Amadeus Cruises, and that changed over to the name of AmaWaterways. Ama, derived from Latin word for love, amor, love for the rivers. And folks, we're known in the industry for focusing on quality over quantity. As you see on the screen here, we're not a company that has 90 ships sailing the the rivers, or a jack of all trades where we're doing river, expedition, and ocean. We're focusing on what we do best and have been for the past 18 years, and that is the river cruise experience. Again, the rivers, obviously known for the European North Sea all the way through the Black Sea, but we can't forget the exotics as well, which we do offer for South Africa on the Chobe River. We also have the Mekong experience, and new for next year, the Egypt experience starting for September. But folks, in this new world, a lot of things are coming up with, are there suppliers going to survive these current turbulent times, with COVID-19? And I want to provide this current quote here by Rudy Schreiner as something that I feel is very powerful, provides comfort and assurance that we, in fact, are going to be a supplier that's going to survive this and be a lot stronger with partnerships like Denise and David on board with us. Our ownership from day one had a very pragmatic and responsible approach to how they conduct their business, and that's making sure they're debt-free. All right, so I want to provide here a quick quote here from Rudy Schreiner. All AmaWaterways owned vessels are paid for, even this year's new build Ama Sienna. With Ama Lucia set to arrive in 2021, the last 10 ships were paid in cash, saving a lot of money besides interest and lots of other fees. We pay as we go. There is no debt on any of our ships. I can sleep at night. Again, folks, that's powerful. And I share this again to provide that comfort and assurance, knowing that we are a viable company that's going to survive this current dark time and be a lot stronger moving forward. We, in fact, are the first U.S. river cruise operator to resume our European operations this past July. And folks, for the most part, 95% of our guests are from North America. And again, we're very anxious, hopeful to welcome these North American guests back on board sooner than later, but we're currently restricted by the European Union and the mandates in place right now for the guests to fly over and be airlifted. So right now, we in fact started back on July 5, sailing the award-winning Ama Christina up and down the Rhine on 5-day intervals with a European German tourist operator. So the current guests that are sailing on board our ships right now are German nationals. And it's sailing within about 75 to 85 total guests on board the other vessels. Pre-COVID-19, the capacity of these vessels, very intimate, 155 total guests up to 196 with the Ama Magna. Now with these current mandates in this new world, we're under 100 guests sailing through. And that's another big difference between the ocean experience and the other river. You got thousands of guests on the ocean, you're middle of the ocean here with these river yachts, which is what I call them, very, very intimate. Only 100 total guests, up to 155 total guests. So God forbid something does come up. We have the medical facilities as a direct access to these European countries to get the folks with the services they need. But I'm very happy to report a lot of success with the startup of the season. There are no cases of the COVID-19 on board a ship, and there won't be in the future. Because again, we're staying very positive and doing all the right things, not only talking the talk, but walking the walk to make sure we intensify or fine tune all the protocols when it comes to safety and health on board the other vessel. So I'm going to go ahead and review some of these things, not to scare you of this being a hospital experience when you're sailing with us on the river. But again, this is top of mind with the current environment and world we're living in right now. So again, the face coverings are going to be a mandate on board the ship as the guests come on board, walking through the public areas, not obviously when they're in their rooms or in the dining room when they're having dinner. We've added some plexiglass dividers in the public lounge area as well for the social distancing adhering. Temperature checks daily, every single morning. Clean air filtrations are featured within all our ships. And again, this filtration system is not recycling the same air within inside the vessel, but outside air coming in and filtrating. And in each stateroom has an individual air filtration system. The social distancing very much in play with our tours as the guests walk through these cities. Normally, we were sitting at 20 total guests walking through the other cities. Now we're at 8 to 10 max. Intensified cleanings throughout the other vessel. And Denise, you know, we've been part of an industry that's always taking of paramount importance to safety and security and the well-being of our guests. And now it's just on a whole intensified level moving forward. So know that we always, of paramount importance, have your health and well-being in mind. Here's a shot of one of the positive optic experiences of the startup of our season here. Again, this is the plexiglass edition that we've added through the ships. There's actually a new addition now for dining as well. So we had the open seating arrangement from 7 to 9. Now there's going to be assigned seating, but we've added now in-room dining experience. So a great opportunity for the guests to enjoy their breakfast, lunch, and dinners from the comfort of their rooms and the luxury of a beautiful balcony stateroom that we have on the other ships. Again, it starts from the top, trickles all the way on board life with the other crew. They have a special skill set on board the other ship to just come with the unparalleled service. They have a high staff to guest ratio on board because of the capacity of our vessels. But again, when it comes to all the departments on board, the wait staff, the cabin stewards, the front desk, they all just work in unison to make sure that the guests on board, like Denise said, make you feel like part of the family. And that's exactly what happens. The feedback we get from our guests when they come on board and our partners is they feel like they're coming on board to someone's home. And that's in fact what it is. It's an extension of Rudy and Christine's home on board. And like Denise mentioned, our owners travel with our guests and partners. So you get that very unique and genuine opportunity to build relationships with the ownership of this company. And again, that's second to none. And for me personally, an inspiration of what these individuals have done in this amazing industry. For those who are not familiar with Berlitz, so Douglas Ward went on board. Well, Berlitz is a very prominent travel magazine, and they basically rate all the cruise ships in the industry, including the river ships. So Douglas Ward went on board about 323 river ships last year, and we were rated the top 5 when it came to the heavy innovation of our vessels, the heavy investment when it comes to the culinary experience, and also the excursions and the experience we offer when it comes to the personalized experience that our guests have in visiting and immersing in the culture. Here you have a shot of the balcony rooms in our long ships. The long ships, standard in the industry, they're 443 feet long, 38 feet wide. Very similar hardware to the Viking ships, the scenic ships. The big difference between our long ships and the competitive set is that they have more capacity. So you're sitting at 190 guests with them. We're sitting at 155 max with us. So less capacity means a lot more value and features you can experience on board in the way of larger staterooms, higher crew to guest ratio for optimal service on board, a fitness center, a hair salon, a spa area, specialty restaurants at no extra cost. Every ship features a heated pool with a swim up bar. Again, innovations is key for us, quality over quantity. And the competitive set nowadays is building their rooms on these river ships with floor-to-ceiling windows. But what happens, again, with these floor-to-ceiling windows, when you open these windows to the outside element, it'd be real cold or real hot. The whole entire room itself would be susceptible to the outside elements. Here, with our innovative rooms, it's the best of both worlds. A true sit-outside balcony on one side of the room and a French balcony on the other. But again, we talk about the long ships, but this right now, Denise, the jewel of our crown, she joined our fleet May of last year, sailing the upper Danube and the lower Danube. I feel this is a perfect transition ship for ocean-going guests that haven't experienced the river cruise experience yet because they've been hesitant because of the size of rooms or lack of amenities on board a ship. Folks, no more excuses with this vessel. Again, one of a kind, the only company on the river that has this type of hardware is AmaWaterways, but the average starting size room on her, 355 square feet, full-size balconies, 5 different bars, 4 different restaurants to choose. And again, look at that. Times Magazine last year voted her a top destination to visit. That's a lot. You're thinking, wow, ship, a top destination, that's huge. In addition to that, the upper Danube is a great starting point for the first timers on the rivers as well. And even our seasoned travelers. Again, for those who've been on the river before, you can experience the same river in different ways, depending on the season you're navigating through these ancient rivers. So the experience in the spring is different than that in the summer, fall, and the winter. But again, for those first timers on the river, this is ideal because of the ship and the destination she's navigating through, which would be the upper Danube, the Wilshofen, Germany, over through Budapest. Very convenient, unpacking one time and immersing in 5 countries in 7 days. With these 7-night cruises, we always offer booking components pre or post. So again, this is a great opportunity for a guest to start on board, again, in addition to what Denise has with the Hawaiian cruise in 2022. But again, we can work on something before that, right, in the interim, before we get to 22. Here I have a wonderful 1-minute video highlighting this brand new build and excitement we have now in the industry and this beautiful ship in our fleet. Hope you guys enjoy. And bear with that there is going to be a possible lag between the audio and the video. But again, I think it's a great positive optic for everyone to see this wonderful new build in our fleet. So there was a taste of the Alma Magna on the upper Danube. So like I mentioned before, again, quality over quantity is a big focus with us. So we're heavily invested in the culinary experience that our guests and our partners have on board. In fact, we're the first river cruise company that's invited to be part of La Chains de Rotizers, which is a private culinary society, invitation only, folks. You got to have the highest acumen when it comes to the quality of the food and the presentation. I mean, these meals come over into you to the table and they're absolute masterpieces. And again, everything is locally sourced, market to table fresh. I've seen our amazing crew members get off in the morning, local produce areas, bring on these fresh ingredients on board. The croissants are so buttery, so fresh, made every single morning. They melt in your mouth. The cookies, the breads, the fish is coming on board the ship every 3 days fresh. So again, everything market to table fresh, quality over quantity. These galleys on board the ships are very small. So again, not a lot of room for frozen provisions. So again, that focus for the freshest locally sourced ingredients is going to be key. And also, like I mentioned about the culture immersion, not only happening ashore, but on board the vessel, especially also with the dining with the wine pairings. So for example, if you're in Hungary, the fresh beef goulash with the local premium wines coming in for dinner that night, the fresh pretzels, mustard in Germany with the fresh local and premium wines there from Germany. So again, it's all about that culture immersion with the meals and the wines coming on board the ship. All the drinks are included with your price points with AmaWaterways. So you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner featuring the champagne, beer, and wine. You have all the specialty coffees, all the teas, all the bottled waters in the rooms included. We've now added a sip and sail cocktail hour to make our brand a lot more inclusive when it comes to the beverages on board. So every single evening on board the ship from 6 to 7 before dinner, we'll have an open bar arrangement for the guests to enjoy. But I got to say, you got to be careful when you're in the meals because they constantly keep pouring. They come and say, we start off with the white wines or the red wines. And I say, what, let's start off with the wines first. We'll end up with the red and then bounce back to the wines. But again, it's just a constant opportunity for you guys to really immerse yourself in the culture, like I said, ashore and on board. And again, great way to burn those calories is with our built-in tours. We offer up to 6 complimentary excursions at each of the destinations we visit. And again, these excursions are built into the price points you're paying. We're big believers about charging up front, not have to nickel and dime you when you're with us. The competitive set normally offers 1 for free and you got to pay for the rest. Here you have a multifaceted experience with our tours, the walking experience, the guided hiking experience, and my personal favorite, the biking experience that we offer. So the long ships have 25 total bikes for a guest to enjoy, and on the brand new ship, the Alma Magna, up to 50. So like I mentioned earlier, we also have reduced the size of these walking tours for the guests to enjoy. So from 20 down to 8 to 10 to further adhere with the current guidelines for the other social distancing. There is that 1% of tours that we offer. We call them special interest tours. You see them there on the screen. So special interest tours, for example, if say you're in Avignon, want to dig for some black truffles and bring those black truffles on board the ship for the master chef to prepare them for you, that is a nominal cost of $20 to $25 for you to experience. Or if you're in, say, in Vienna, want to go to the Schoenberg Palace for a nice dinner and opera, nominal cost experience there for $20, $25. But these are experiences that normally cost hundreds. And here you have an opportunity with a special interest tours to really delve in to these cultures and these experiences. Because again, it's all about the personalized experience. In fact, one of the treats that I love hearing our cruise managers share when they're on board is the second morning when they give a nice overview of the different tours that they're going to be experiencing throughout the cruise. They say you can, but you don't have to. You can explore on your own. You can enjoy one of our guided tours, or you can just plainly stay on board a ship and enjoy the parallel program that we have included with the wellness program. Again, if you enjoy some champagne yoga on the pool deck, we got that available for you. Some Pilates core strength training in the panoramic lounge, or just jogging, running up and down the riverbanks with your wellness host. It's all built in. Again, it's all about the personalized experience for you to really immerse yourself and enjoy your experience on the rivers. Here's the overview of the world of AmaWaterways. So if you see my mouse, we normally start our season in March for what is the Tulip Time experience here for Netherlands and Belgium. Folks, we're still holding out hope that we're in fact going to be back for the Christmas markets itineraries towards the tail end of this year. Again, we're again staying positive, optimistic that in fact is going to take place. The Christmas markets normally start that last week of November after Thanksgiving, run towards Christmas Eve. For the markets, if in fact we get back up and they're running, the Nuremberg to Budapest, Nuremberg is a highlight because Nuremberg features one of the oldest markets dating back to 660 AD. But folks, on the map here, all these blue lines are going to be your main destinations. And like I mentioned earlier, 8-day, 7-night itineraries. We start the season here in March, but then you got these beautiful, captivating, and enchanting Rhine experiences from Amsterdam to Basel. You have the wonderful Moselle itinerary starting for us, Rhine and Moselle starting for us next year. The Main, the Upper Danube, which I mentioned for the first time, is a great starting point here. Wilshof in Germany, covering into Germany, Austria, Czech Republic, Slovakia, into Hungary. The Lower Danube from Budapest, covering the northern part of Croatia, Serbia, Bulgaria, into Bucharest. We got a nice post extension available now for Istanbul, Turkey there for that Lower Danube experience. Can't forget the three main rivers of France, which we'll cover in more depth now with Sebastian on the Rhone, but the Great Merlot, robust wines here featured for the Bordeaux region, or the Paris and Normandy experience here for the northern part of France here for the Seine. And we got 2 ships designated for Porto, round trip out of Portugal, with some land experience available for Salamanca, Madrid, and Toledo. And can't forget the exotics that I mentioned before for what is the Chobe River. So Chobe River is the Zambezi Queen for South Africa. Very unique experience here, folks. It's 5 days, 4 nights on the actual ship on the Chobe River, and that's located between that basin of Namibia and Botswana. But up to 20 total nights when you incorporate the land-based experience of the product here. So visits into Kruger National Park, Cape Town, South Africa, Johannesburg. There's one package featuring the Robles Rails component over Victoria Falls, extension into Tanzania for the Serengeti. We're bringing the Rwanda experience for the silverback gorilla trekking and golden monkey experience. The Asia experience for the Mekong. I did this a couple years ago. This was a life-changing experience for me a couple years ago. So we have those Saigon to Siem Reap or Siem Reap experience available there for 7 nights. And new for next year, the Egypt itinerary, round trip out of Luxor for 7 nights on the beautiful brand new Amadalia. You'll have some pre and post experience available for Dubai, Jordan, and Israel as well. So folks, again, brought over some great information here on the AmaWaterways brand. Talked about the hardware. Talked about the different added value we bring with AmaWaterways, and now the overview of the map. So now I want to segue in and bring on board my amazing friend and colleague Sebastian Leroy to give you a nice in-depth overview on the Rhone River for Lyon and Provence.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. Good evening, everyone. And by the way, just before starting this, this very river here, the Rhone, can also be perfect for first-timers. I mean, I know you love the Danube, but I mean, all these places here, especially the Rhone is absolutely amazing because of the changes I've seen, and you will see that in the next few minutes. it is a great choice, and it is a wine cruise now that we're talking about. So what are the wine cruises? Because Alan, of course, mentioned all our cruises as a general, as a big, gave you an overview, but we have what we call themed cruises. So he mentioned, for example, he touched the Christmas markets, he touched the tulip time, but the wine cruises, that's something that we started in 2014. And the idea behind it is not to make everything about wine. The idea is to have all the tours that you would have regular cruise, and then you add an additional layer of tours, but also wine tastings on and off the ship. So what happens with these wine cruises that we have usually a wine host coming on board, and the wine host is coming from the United States, or actually let's better say North America. And you might already start wondering why would I go with the North American host if I'm going to drink European wine? Well, that's a very good question, and the reason is that having a North American host with you will allow you to understand the wines in your own language. And when I say your own language, I'm not talking about English, I'm talking about your wine language. Because let's say that all of us would go now to buy a bottle of wine. I mean, we would go where? Probably to Wine or something like that. And you would go and buy the wines that you know. So you would like to have a cab from, I don't know, Willamette Valley, and you like this winemaker, and that's how you would choose it. The problem is that if you try to do that in France, well, and in Europe in general, but in France even more, that's absolutely impossible. You will have absolutely no idea what you're buying, because the French do not go with one kind of grape written on the label plus the place, or the valley where it's from, because the places are so small. And I'll give you an example in a few seconds that you would be completely. The French people actually, when they put a label on their wine bottles, you will have the name of the chateau. That will be the first thing that you will see. Then you will have the wine region. Then you will have the classification of the wine. Then you will have another thing depending on the region, because even in France it's very complicated because one region doesn't look like the other. So you will have you will have an appellation that will give you the place on the slope where the grapes have been harvested. Is it at the bottom, in the middle, or at the top? And they will have different appellations for that. And where we are going to take you tonight on the Saône River, so in Burgundy, and after that going down all the way down to Arles and the Rhone River, you will see that there are quite a few differences there, and that's why we have these wine hosts, because they learn about all this. We tell them, look, you guys, you're going to go on this river, so we would like you to educate your guests, and it has to be fun. So they make you drink at the same time, just to make sure that nobody falls asleep during the lecture. So it has to be fun, and you will learn. You will have 3 lectures on board. And as Herlan said, actually, you took my sentence. You can, but you don't have to. That's what I say to my people on board the ship.
That's where I picked it up, Seb.
It is very important to know that. It's vacation after all. Huh? And if you want to take part to this wine tasting, feel free to go, and you will learn about the region. And depending on the wine host, some will be more about the types of grapes. Some will be more about the geology. So really how the evolution, how the terroir, as we call it, so basically the combination of soil and climate, will be able to influence the kinds of grapes. And some will just talk also about the history. And when you go to this region where we're going there, you see, if you look at the picture, if we look at all the towns from the top, you see Dijon up there. Dijon, and I'm sure that all of you have heard of Dijon because you've all eaten mustard. And when you go to France, you hear Dijon mustard. That's the thing that everybody knows for. But Dijon is also very close to a very, very great region. It's called Champagne, Champagne. So that's right there. That's where you are. But then if you look just below, Beaune. And Beaune is really, we call it the capital city of Burgundy as wine region. And you will see that in Beaune, everything becomes very easy when it comes to wine, because you're in Burgundy, and in Burgundy you have 2 choices. Either you drink a red and it's a Pinot Noir, or you drink a white and it's a Chardonnay. So that's probably the only easy thing that you have about this region. But after that, when you talk about history, just outside of Beaune, that's actually where the history of Pinot Noir as a grape starts for the entire world in the 9th century, and we will talk about that in a few minutes. But Alan, let's go a little bit before talking about what we do on the cruise. We will talk about the pre-extension, because there is with AmaWaterways, you always have the cruise portion, as Alan mentioned, but you also have a pre and a post cruise extension. And there, just one little detail about the crew, because Denise was talking about the quality of the staff, and trust me, we have one thing that I think is great from our staff is that I see them. I've been in the company for 10 years, and I still know the crew members from the beginning. And you don't have, I can tell you that you won't find 2 cruise lines. And I know you won't find 2 cruise lines that have the same crew members after 10 years. That simply does not happen. You have turnover, but we have them, and that's probably most certainly linked to the personalities of Rudy and Christine, who really make contact and make everybody feels like their family. And when you will go on this pre-extension, you will meet your cruise manager. The cruise manager will be there already. And why do we have the cruise manager on the pre and the post extension? Because it is important for you to have a point of contact. I mean, when you will go there, I mean, let's say France, well, maybe some of you will speak French. But I'll just give you a little example that happened to me last year. I was doing a cruise and I'll just do a little segue on another river, on the lower Danube. And I have this gentleman who arrived. We were in Transylvania. I have this gentleman who arrives, and he arrives one day before, like I always do. And I see him kind of struggling in the elevator, and I just offer my help. And I didn't know he was my guest. And so I tell him, I said, where do you want to go? So he tells me his floor, and due to his accent, I look at him and I'm like, I take you on vacation here. He's like, yeah, well, I'm starting with AmaWaterways, but they're not here yet. We're starting tomorrow. So I look at him and I say, yeah, well, I'm here. And he's like, oh, are you Sebastian? I'm like, mm-hmm. He's like, well, I hate to, and that's the typical start of a great conversation. I hate to bother you, but I have a little problem. and I said, what's the issue? And it happened that the airline had lost his luggage, which, I mean, it has happened. We know how to fix it. Where it becomes a little more complicated is that his heart medication was in the piece of luggage. And when you're in Transylvania, I mean, I doubt that if you go there on the second cruise, I doubt that any of you speaks fluent Romanian. So that's where the cruise manager becomes important, because then I asked him first, I said, okay, do you have medication for tonight? Or do we need to go to the emergency room? Or do I need to get you a doctor? He's like, no, I'm set. I have medication for 2 days with me. I'm like, okay. And the next morning when everybody was arriving, I had already arranged a doctor to arrive to the hotel. The doctor came to see me at the end, gave me a prescription. I went to the pharmacy, got the medication that he needed. And just a little example of why having this point of contact is important, because you should know that you can use this person 24/7. I mean, you know that's why we're here, and you know that you will have one person who you can go to at any time. But let's go back to our pre-extension. So you've just seen the first picture. It was Geneva, and now we're in Annecy. So during these 3 nights, you arrived, you will be welcomed at the airport, and you will meet the cruise manager at the hotel. Then you will visit Geneva. For those of you who would have been, for example, in Switzerland in the past and visited Zurich, well, just for you, if you've been to Zurich, Geneva is considered the Zurich of the French part, the French-speaking part of Switzerland. Beautiful city, unlike Geneva. You will start discovering it. You will be able to choose your walking pace, because we're also very conscious that not everybody walks at the same pace, especially when the day before you had probably a 10-hour flight and you're not necessarily you have not necessarily adapted completely to the jet lag and to the new time zone. So you can choose gentle walking, regular walking, active walking. And active walking doesn't mean that you will be running a marathon. Active walking just means that you will get the information from your guide on the go. There will be no stop for pictures. The idea is that you should have more free time at the end. We want to make sure that our guests enjoy the town. Again, another big difference between an ocean liner and a river cruise ship is that we stay everywhere longer. We want our to be able to enjoy the city during the day and during the night, because they have two completely different faces, and especially these towns that are most of the time 600, 800, 900 years old. You know, a medieval town at night, it's absolutely fascinating to be walking through these little streets, pitch dark. and it's a completely different feel for the city. And you've seen the few places we will go. You will go to Annecy, which is called the Venice of the Alps. So that's a little town where you have all these canals. And then we will visit the castle of Chillon. Chillon is an absolutely beautiful piece of architecture on the lake, built already 800 years ago. Took about 200 years to build, and you actually can see that on the castle itself. Because if you look at if you divide the picture in two, left and right. Let's say that we would draw a vertical line in the middle of the picture. But what do you see? You see that everything that is on the left has angles. It's square. Everything that is on the right, you have the round towers. And this shows already that there are two different pieces of history here, because the round towers were developed later in history, because people had figured out that having a round tower would allow you to defend your castle from every angle, whereas a square or an angle would give you a so-called dead angle, and that's where people actually used to attack. For those of you who are familiar with Disney movies, and especially the one Tangled with Rapunzel, actually the castle, the castle and the tower, everything is inspired from the Chillon castle. So you will see you will hear about all the details with your guides, and then we will make our way. When we leave from Chillon, we will make our way towards Chalon-sur-Saône. Chalon-sur-Saône is a beautiful town, and what I think is important, and that's why I said it's a great cruise also for first timers. What you want in a river cruise is, even if it's a wine cruise, you want to be able to address a maximum of people. And just this little town that you see here, well, first of all, if you look at the flag, and you see this is made of flowers, and just at the confluence of the Saône River and of Ani here. So the Ani is a very, very little river, a confluence to the Saône. But you see a French and an American flag, the date 1917 in the middle. It's because that's where the US, since 1917, the US troops have been helping the French troops, basically pushing back the Prussians and or the Germans, let's call them. And that's really the point where the United States entered the First World War conflict. And they stayed kind of out of it until 1917. But when they got attacked, and when actually the United States realized that these guys in Germany were becoming a little dangerous, that's where they decided to come and help. And that's actually the building that you see just behind. So you see these trees, and then you see kind of a dome. That's called l'Hôtel Dieu. And that's actually the hospital where the US troops were being healed. So when we had wounded soldiers, that's exactly where they were coming. And all the major fields, the battles of World War I are just north of this area. But Chalon is not only known for that. Chalon is known, and maybe some of you are interested in photography. And nowadays, what do? You use this. You use your iPhone and you take a picture everywhere. But at the time, photography, just go back 30 years and you will see that you had completely different cameras. But the first picture in the world was taken in this very city. And you have the Museum of Photography. Nicéphore Niepce is the inventor of photography. That's not a tour. But if you want to go and just discover that it's 50 yards from the ship. When there are things, because some of you might be a little more independent, some of you might love to go on all the guided tours that we have. But if you want to discover a little bit on your own, just ask your cruise manager. The cruise manager is there, and trust me, they all know the areas. Most of us are local, so we know where we are going, and you will be able to discover tons of things, because the next day we will go to the Château de Couche. And if you just heard what I just told you a few minutes ago about the square and the round, but you see that this one also has been built, because the defense wall has one square tower, but it has a round one on the right. And Couche is typical for the late castles, early palaces. And what does it mean with castle and palace? But it's been evolving, this castle, until the 16th century. And in order to understand the difference between a castle and a palace, but you have to think about cannons and power. Before the 16th century, or end of the 15th century, actually, before the Renaissance, the Italian Renaissance, you had armies arriving in front of a castle and firing cannons and bullets, and you would, after a while, the walls would fall because the cannons became stronger and stronger over history. So from the 16th century, which is the start of the French Renaissance, people decided to show power differently, not by the thickness of their walls or the height of their walls. I mean, that this was kind of becoming completely irrelevant. You started building palaces, and probably the most famous of all of them dates back to the 17th century, and it's Versailles. And that's probably the most famous. Everybody knows Versailles. But this was the idea. You want to see my power? I will show you how luxurious I can live. And that's Kush is a very good example for that. But Beaune, I was mentioning Beaune to you a few seconds ago. And if we go to the next slide, Herlan, you will understand that the idea of luxury was already there actually way before. I just mentioned the Hôtel Dieu in Chalon-sur-Saône. But this one is also an Hôtel Dieu, l'Hospice de Beaune. And when you will be, if you're wine lovers and if you're Burgundy wine lovers, you should have heard already of the Hospice de Beaune, because that's where you have the most famous wine auction. Not only in Europe. I mean, that's probably in terms, when it comes to French wines, that's the most famous in the world. And all the proceeds, it's kind of a charity auction. That's where you have the best wines of Burgundy coming. Some of them, so they sell always a barrel. They don't sell the wine by the bottle there. They sell it by the barrel. It's 225 liters. I've seen, the most expensive that I've seen went away for $500,000. So that's okay for a barrel of wine. So then you're very careful when you start drinking it, because you know every sip is about $600. So but the visit of this place, look at the roof. The roof dates back to the 15th century in the Hospice de Beaune. You will love to see that. And what was the Hôtel Dieu? Just for you to know about it, it's the ancestor of a hospital. Hotel, okay, no need to translate. Dieu means God. So this was the hotel to go to God. So this was the last place where people were coming before dying, before going up. So this is the translation for Hôtel Dieu. And it was purchased by people who were very rich, the nobility, and they wanted to buy their way to heaven. And you will get to visit this. It is absolutely fabulous. And then you will continue your way, and we will visit Tournus. And Tournus is also, and we will not see a lot of churches, but this one is absolutely amazing because it's made of the golden stone. And this picture, I think, shows it very well. When the sun hits these stones, it's a very specific limestone from this area. And if you want to see it again, there is another part of France that has it. It's very, very small. It's the Museum Louvre. And the oldest part of the Louvre is built with this stone. And you will get to visit this beautiful little town with this church that is approximately 1,000 years old. And it has never been destroyed. That's the beauty of Burgundy. I mean, you will see then, if we go to the next slide, you will discover the sceneries. And the scenery, Burgundy is, I mean, of course, wine fields. I mean, everywhere. And you see what I was talking to you about? Look at the slopes, and you see some fields on the top. You see some in the middle with some separations, and then you see some at the bottom. And that's what they will call cru, premier cru, grand cru. So, and you will learn about all these because you go to wine tastings everywhere there, and you will learn about the Burgundy wines. You will learn also about the Beaujolais wines. I'm sure that you've heard of Beaujolais. So Beaujolais is the third kind of grape that you have there. It's not a Pinot Noir. It's not a Chardonnay. It's called Gamay. Gamay N. So N stands for Noir, so the black Gamay. And never say when you will be there, when you'll be in the Beaujolais. So technically, you will be in the region, in the Burgundy region, but never say to a Beaujolais winemaker that he's in Burgundy, and never tell a real Burgundy winemaker that Beaujolais is part of their region, because I'm not sure what would happen to you. So that's something, and actually now you know it. But we will continue our way, and you will visit the little city of Mâcon. And Mâcon is a beautiful town. The ship is docked. That's from the ship, the picture that you see here. So the ship is docked in the heart of the city all the time. That's the beauty with the river cruises. That's what Herlan was mentioning earlier. The river cruises take you through the countries, and because these cities have been built, and you will see the oldest one will be at the end, 2,600 years ago. And it was very important to build the cities around the river. So that's why you always docked at the heart, because it was for the trade already 2,500 years ago. But when you're around Mâcon, you will go visit Berzé-le-Châtel. And Berzé-le-Châtel That's one of the choices that you will have there. That's the next slide. And it is from the 13th century. It is a village. And actually, I was reading about it. It's very, I love to read about it because it is a village. So this is the main chateau in Berzay-le-Châtel. But the number of inhabitants, the number of inhabitants has grown. Last year, it was 58 inhabitants. And this year is 59. So somebody must have had a baby there, but it's officially registered. So that's really not a big village, but you will love to go there and really see, again, you see this stone. And if you don't want to visit Berzay-le-Châtel because you will have seen already a few castles, you will have the possibility to go to Brou Royal. And Brou Royal is a masterpiece of architecture when it comes to an abbey. It is a royal abbey. So when we take you to these places, the idea is not to talk about religion. The idea is to talk about the genius of the people who built this. The typical, when you look at this, this is typical French Renaissance. That's from the 16th century. That's what you could expect on the Francis I. So that when you think about the castles of the Loire, so that could be also a second cruise, Denise and David. I mean, think about it. The Loire Valley. We can also go there. Bordeaux and the Loire. And that's typically what you would see, a beautiful work, a beautiful artwork, outside and inside. Only one thing has changed when you see this. It's the color. Because this, we are very used, all of us nowadays are very used to these naked stones like this. This has never been like this in the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, everything was painted. The churches were full of colors. That's something very new that we've had to have this naked stone. And you will learn about all this. And Brou Royal was really in Bourg-en-Bresse, a place where kings would come in retreat. And why? Because you have in Bresse one of the best chickens in the world. It's called the poulet de Bresse. It is actually, it's protected by law. It is very, very hard to be able to get it because each chicken, by law, to have the appellation poulet de Bresse, needs to have 150 square feet of free range. So they need to have, you can imagine the size of the field when you have 5,000 chickens. So you need to have a lot, and they can only be fed with organic corn. And this you see immediately, you will be served that on the ship. You will get to enjoy it. And you will see that the meat of this chicken is not whitish, it's really yellow. It's really yellow, it's super tender, and that's why. Since the Middle Ages, they were coming. You were talking about the Chaîne des Rôtisseurs. That's exactly what we're talking about. This association, this culinary association, which we're a member of, it was created in the 13th century, 1248, to be precise. And then, so you will continue your way, and you will arrive close to Lyon. And the city that you see on the top, on the top left, that's Lyon, and that's the typical Saône Valley. So you will stay in Lyon for one day. You will visit this beautiful city, gastronomical capital of France, of course, and you will have a lot to visit because Lyon is where the two rivers meet. That's just above the Beaujolais. So if we look at the next picture, you will see some of the Beaujolais fields just in front of you, and right after that. So that's the Beaujolais, and you will go there. You will go in fields. We will take you there so that you can really enjoy and learn from the winemakers how they make this wine. But now this is Lyon with Notre Dame de la Garde up there. So this beautiful, and of course I'm using the mouse, but I'm not the one in control, so it doesn't help. But the church that you see at the very top, so that's the basilica. Right there, exactly. And Notre Dame de Fourvière. Notre Dame de Fourvière, beautiful church as far as I'm concerned. Many people, that's always the same thing. You know, when you have an architectural style that distorts because it's new, people criticize it. For example, you have two places that I know like this. Notre Dame de Fourvière. It was described as an elephant that would be on its back at the beginning, and they said the same thing of the opera in Vienna. And nowadays, these are really two beautiful pieces of architecture that we have for us. And you can discover Lyon partly by bus and partly walking, or you can take a bike tour, or you can take a hike. You can take a hike completely all the way up to Fourvière. And then you have a free afternoon before the next day we go to Vienne. And Vienne is actually a very interesting town because you have more than 2,000 years of history there. you have, because there is a Roman temple, which is almost impossible to see. And since I don't have the control, I cannot show it to you, but it is there. It's called the Temple of Augustus and Livia. Then you see in the upper right corner of the picture, upper right, you see this the ruin there. That's from the 11th century, and then of course the heart of the town. You see the church right there from the 14th century, which is now a museum. And Vienne, you will learn about somebody who everybody should be very familiar with, because Vienne was the favorite city actually in France of Thomas Jefferson. And he came there many, many times. And you will even see a sign commemorating the venue of, and where he lived actually, where he used to live, very close to the Roman temple. And we stay there in the morning, and then you will start cruising in the afternoon. And that's the beauty of this itinerary, is that you really you cruise a couple of hours in the afternoon, you arrive in the early evening, let's say 5, 6 p.m., and then you stay there overnight. You have the next morning to do the excursion, and then you cruise in the afternoon again. You will have a lot of daytime cruising, which is absolutely amazing. And you will go to Valence. So Valence it's not a large city. You may never have, I mean, many people think, are you talking about Valencia in Spain? No, Valence. But that's actually the city where you have the oldest university in France. And the church windows of the Saint Apollinaris Cathedral are absolutely magnificent, more than 700 years old, completely original. So it is something that you will absolutely want to see before continuing your way towards Avignon. And when you will go towards Avignon, something that will be absolutely great there. No, you will stop in Cornas. Excuse me, I forgot Cornas, because we're on a wine cruise. I mean, if we don't talk about wine on a wine cruise, why are we here? So Cornas is a beautiful spot. It's this little village, and actually, if you look, you see at the top, so you see the spire of the church, and up there, so that's a village, and it's beautiful. My aunt lives at the foot of the hill, and we used to go to hike up there when we were kids, and you have a beautiful view on the entire Rhone Valley. And Cornas has only white wines, and it's absolutely unique in this area. Most of the wines that you will find there are based on Syrah. That's what you will find at places like, for example, Chartier wineries. I mean, these very big names, Côte-Rôtie wines, they're all based on Syrah. But here, Chardonnay only, and it's a very small place, but you will get to taste these wines. They're absolutely wonderful, and they have some Rieslings as well. But the Riesling that you will get to taste in France in general, even on the ship, has nothing to compare with what you know here, because they're not sweet. And that's what struck me every time when I was in the United States at the beginning. And everybody was talking about Riesling. Oh, no, I don't like it. It's sweet. And I was a winemaker, and I was making Riesling. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's not sweet. A wine, you can build it the way you want. And basically, what makes a wine sweet or dry, that's the alcoholic fermentation. So how long do you let the sugar transform itself into alcohol? And if you stop it earlier, but you will have still a lot of sugar, so you will have a sweet wine. If you push the alcoholic fermentation to the end, you will have zero sugar, and you will have a super dry wine, which will be also very healthy for you. And since there is zero cholesterol, drink white wines. They are very good, the dry ones. It's really a medicine. So, but we will continue our way. We go to from Avignon. Avignon is a beautiful town. You will have, it's a fortified city. It still has, from the 13th century, the entire city wall with 26 towers. And you will visit the Palace of the Popes, that is at the heart of it, or you will have the possibility to go for a bike tour between Avignon and Tarascon. But we could not show you the entire area, so that's a little bit further inland. But because it's very hard to show you a 20-mile stretch on one picture. But it is a beautiful bike tour. And the great thing with these bike rides, they go a little bit up and down, but not that much. You're along a river, and that's the beauty when you go along a river, and the river is mostly flat. It goes down, of course, because it comes from the mountain, so that's where you have the stream. But it is mostly flat. So you will have a very nice bike tour there, beautiful time. And if you don't want, if we look at the next picture, you can go for what we would call a special interest tour, and it's a culinary tasting. So you will have, of course, the wines, you will have the cheeses from the south of France. And you know that we have more than 350 different cheeses in France. Actually, that's why we say that there is one per day. of the year. And you also have different kinds of bread. You will learn probably about the fougasse bread. And these are very small classes. That's the beauty of it. You go with the chef to the market, you pick up the stuff, and then he will give you, you will be able to taste all this. And then the end of your cruise will be in Arles. And I mentioned this city, 2,600 years old, and look at it. So you see, if you look, you see the amphitheater on the right. And if you go just above the central tower of the amphitheater on the river, you see 2 cruise ships there. That's exactly where you will be docked. So you are 4 minutes walk from the heart of this very city. So you see an amphitheater, you see a theater, an Odeon, to be more precise, at the lower left of the picture, but you also have Roman bath. And this is actually not a Roman city. It is a Phoenician city. It's been here for more than 2,600 years. It's a beautiful place, and you will learn because you will go. You will not necessarily stay in Arles the entire day. You have a tour taking you to Les Baux de Provence, which is a medieval village fortified on the top of a hill, where you can also visit the quarries of light. And the quarries of light, these are quarries from the 11th century that are carved in a cliff. And you go in there. It is animated by computer, and you have paintings on the walls with classical music taking you through the life of an artist. So sometimes it is Vincent van Gogh, it can be Leonardo da Vinci, it can be Johannes Vermeer, and it is a fabulous experience. You do that in the morning before being in Arles in the afternoon. And I hope that after having seen this, you will want to continue on the post extension, because you will leave the ship and you will go to Barcelona. So that's a possibility that we offer you as well. I mean, of course, you see the Sagrada Familia here, almost done, not done completely yet, but almost done. A work of almost 100 years already in construction. And it is a beautiful city. You have great guides there. Our hotel is beautifully located, the Meridian on the Rambla. The Rambla is, of course, the most famous street in Barcelona, and yeah, you can show that Herlan the Montserrat. And so you really want to visit Montserrat. This monastery. Now you need to really look at the lower right corner in the far. Try to go with your exactly this spot, the spot that you see that Herlan is pointing. That's where you will take a train. Train to take you all the way up to this monastery that has been built 700 years ago. So of course it will be very nice because we take a cable train, but when you will go up, do me a favor and think about how these people could build this 700 years ago at this height. You will go 500 feet up, and they built this beautiful thing. You will see the Black Madonna, and this is really this is a pilgrimage site for all people. I know even you might have Lydia, one of our guides who we really love. She does with her family a pilgrimage every year, and you have to walk so it's 50 kilometers, about 30 miles, just to go there, and then she hikes up. And they do that. I mean, they do that every year. This is really what I have for you tonight in terms of a trip. So I hope that everybody enjoyed it, and I hope that everybody will sign to go with Audrey and David.
Great job, Sebastian. And Denise.
No, I said
David,
Audrey, it was absolutely wrong.
Yeah, it's okay. Denise, David, I hope you have some space available for me to join that cruise, because wow, after what Sebastian just presented, I am so on board with joining my wife and I joining you guys on that cruise. So great job, Sebastian. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to be remiss if I don't share with you guys in this presentation the current prevailing and optimal deals that are in the market right now. There's some great deals right now for anything you book on the Europe and the Mekong sailings here, up to $1,500 per stateroom savings. Right now, Denise and David have a great group program in place for that sailing in 22 for the Lyon, Provence, and the Saône and the Rhone. We have some great opportunities now for free airfare with our 21 itineraries, also some reduced business class air promotions starting at $29.99. And again, it's very seamless program when it comes to working with our air department. And I always encourage our partners and our guests to build these as bundle packages. So you actually have one operator overseeing the whole process for you. When you book the air with us, also transfers are included for free. And on the exotic, we also do feature the 2-for-1 land programs, because again, we cover the northern part of the country for Hanoi, Halong Bay, and also the southern part for Siem Reap with the UNESCO World Heritage Site there, and also Saigon. Very important now with this new world, there is a very strong provision in play right now that's accompanying the insurance that we supply directly with AmaWaterways or with third-party companies. So again, if you want to secure your cruise with us, again, that's a big investment. We want to make sure that's protected. So right now we're offering a travel waiver plus peace of mind cancellation insurance. You can cancel your AmaWaterways service up to 24 hours before the start. And again, if you do have to cancel, what we'll do is set up a future cruise credit for the total amount of that cost, and you can use that up to 2 years after the cruise. Okay, so again, very important. Travel Waiver Plus is a new provision we have in place to provide you that peace of mind. Price points here range between $80 and $175. The variance, folks, on the lower price point, $80 when you pair it up with the Travel Guard with AmaWaterways, the higher $175 when you do a third-party insurance. But again, Denise, David, you know how important it is with the insurance, and this Travel Waiver Plus is in place right now to protect your client's investment. So again, Denise, I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Hope you guys are more excited about what you've put down for that group for 22. And now I want to turn it back over to you so you can share with us the great raffle gifts that you have for our guests and clients this evening.
All right, thank you both for that amazing presentation. We really enjoyed it. So as you see in the picture, I have a few bottles of wine that I'm actually raffling off, giving away. Sebastian, I know you are better at pronouncing these French names than I am. So if you want to do the honors announcing the wines, and we can announce the winners.
So you want me to start with the one bottle of the red wine?
Yeah, that's fine.
So that's we call it Pommard. And Pommard is one of the most famous winemaking villages in Burgundy. It's located approximately 10 miles outside of Beaune. So remember what I showed you with Beaune, this beautiful hospice. And actually, the wines of Pommard, of the Chateau de Pommard, many times are in this auction. So Pommard is a small village, beautiful, powerful red wines, Pinot Noir, as I said. I mean, really great one.
All right, so I'm going to have David pick a name out, and he will announce the winner of this bottle.
I'm not looking. We have Wanda Lucia Palmatier. Hope I pronounced that right.
June?
Oh, wow. Thank you, guys.
Welcome.
You're welcome.
Congratulations. So what I'll do is I'll send you an email after the presentation, and that way I can get your contact information so I can make sure I get that sent out to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Denise and David.
You're welcome.
Congrats. We'll do this.
And then for the two other bottles, so these ones are different. They come from a different area, but that you will see as well during the wine cruise. Because of course, I mean, I gave you an overview. We cannot talk. I mean, if I start talking about all the places, we're here for 6 hours. But this one is that's called Châteauneuf du Pape. So Châteauneuf du Pape, very, very famous. I'm sure you already heard of it. Where it becomes very interesting is that, so you have a red and a white, right?
Yes.
And the white Châteauneuf du Pape is extremely rare. It's about 5% of the production, and 95% of the production in Châteauneuf du Pape is red, and it's completely different. The Pommard wine that we just where we just had a winner is a Pinot Noir. In Châteauneuf du Pape, that's the only town in France where they can use up to 13 different kinds of grapes to make a blend. And there you don't do. You know, some people do blends to hide some defaults in a wine. But when you have certain kinds of grapes, you don't do that to hide a default. It's really to highlight every possible note of every different kinds of grapes.
All right. So the winner on this is going to receive both bottles. So it's the red and the white together as a set. So.
Wow. We have the language family.
Yay.
3 bottles for the same family. That's good.
See, it was worth it getting on, right?
Somebody's going to be happy this weekend whenever the bottles of wine arrive.
One for each of them.
Awesome. Awesome.
Oh, very good.
Well, thank you everyone again for joining again this afternoon and what's going into this evening. Denise and David, thank you again for allowing Sebastian and I to showcase something that we're both very inspired to be a part of and have the passion to sell and talk about, as you can see with this presentation. We're going to actually open it up right now for some Q&A. I see some questions coming up in the chat room, so I'm going to open it up right now and unmute everyone so we can have an opportunity for some engagement, okay? So bear with me one quick second while we get this done for everyone here. All right, so everyone's being asked to unmute, so feel free to chime in and engage with us, folks.
Oh, Romy's there. Hi, Romy.
Does anyone have any
Don't
questions?
forget one thing. Don't forget one thing, folks. Is that when you have because there will probably be questions coming later. Because I know that it's a lot of information that we provide, and don't worry, because really contact Denise and David, because they have 99.9% of all the answers to your questions, and the good news for the 0.1% that they don't have is that they have Herlan's phone number, and usually he has the 0.1 rest. Feel free to contact them because it is a great trip, and the deal that they have for you, it is really a trip of a lifetime. And I'm promising you one thing is that when you have started river cruising, you will not want to stop again.
Absolutely, yeah. It's
No,
definitely
I'm asking about the rooms. I wasn't sure about the rooms. Are they all balcony rooms? Is that what my understanding is, or is that not the case?
80% of the rooms. I mean, basically, what happens is that you have 3 decks. So you have, and the two main decks have a balcony on. I mean, French balconies on all of them. So French balconies really you have the possibility to open, slide up, and the only thing is on the 3rd deck, on the lower deck, there you have 10 cabins that have a fixed window. But and same thing when you will be with Denise and David, they have all the different categories of cabins with the square footage, where they're located on the ship, so that they have all this.
As far as the cuisine is concerned, are you able to pick it, or is it provided by the chefs every day? How is that working?
I did not hear the beginning of the question.
As far as the cuisine, as far as the chefs are preparing the meals, is it dinner? I mean, can you pick or choose, or is this is what they're going to be?
No, you will have there are a lot of choices, because that's fine dining that you will have all the time here, and it is. I mean, first, if you choose to eat in the restaurants, in the dining rooms, because we have 2 of them. So you will, of course, I mean, it's served completely because, with COVID, we had to make some adjustments, and the era of the buffets, I mean, that's something you can scratch for now. I mean, that's something that will not come back for quite a while. And frankly, when we talk about luxury, I mean, luxury can take a lot of different forms. And I think when you're at the table and you're sitting with your friends and you just have a nice served dinner, that's something very nice. But if you choose to do the in dining, what will happen is that you will be provided with a menu, and then everything will be brought to you and served to you.
Now, as far as the wines on the ship, are they? Will there be somebody there? Will there sommelier will be there to provide you with recommendations?
Absolutely, and we change the wines every day. It's not we there are some other cruise lines, and I'm not going to name them, but you have one that you receive in your mailbox every week, and it starts with a V, and they do house wine. Well, we don't do house wine because very early we figured that if you don't like a wine on day 1, you're very likely to like it on day 5. So what we do is that we change the wines every day, and it doesn't mean, I mean, for example, on day 6 of the cruise, and you had this Beaujolais wine on the 2nd evening, and you absolutely love it. Of course, you will be able to have it, but we change them, and the wines are basically from the region where we are today.
So, in other words, when you go into a specific region, before you're going there or after that, the wines are provided by the specific regions. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay. No, the reason I'm asking is because we're big. My wife and I were big Napa wine people, and Denise knows us very well. And we experienced some phenomenal wines in Napa. And I'm sure you're familiar with the Napa wines. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure the French wines are very exquisite.
You will see that it's very different, very, very different. very different. And that's normal, huh? Because when you just need to look at the map and you look where Napa is located and where Burgundy is located, because Burgundy is pretty much at the height of Chicago. So
Right.
the climate will be completely different. The soil is completely different underground. And yeah, the grapes, the average age of grapes, when you talk about old vines, when you're up there, we're talking about 100 years, 120 years. Good luck finding one vineyard with 120 years old vines in Napa. I mean, that's not going to happen.
Okay.
But it is completely different. And that's the beauty of it. It changes all the time.
Thank you.
But you will
Thank you
like
very
it.
much.
Great questions, friends. Thank you. Any other questions? Any other wine aficionados have any direct questions for our very own Sebastian?
Take advantage of him now while he's here.
No?
All right, great.
No?
I think it's a spectacular river cruise. It looks spectacular. I think it's something that I think a lot of people will be jumping on this, in my opinion.
Wonderful.
It's really special. It's something I've never seen before. And I think it's definitely worthwhile, in my
Excellent,
opinion.
Prince. Appreciate that feedback. You know, it's a very
I'm John. My wife is France.
Hey, Carl, sorry, but no,
It's all
definitely a very genuine and unique experience that's offered. And again, we do it with a lot of love and passion, and that again is what really defines us in this market. And you'll get to see it. You'll be hooked. You're part of the family once you're on board, like Denise and David shared with us. So we're looking forward to having you on board. If there are no other further questions, I'm going to get this.
There was a
out.
question.
Was?
There is a question that I just received. How difficult are the language barriers? Yeah, there is no difficulty when it comes to language barrier. First of all, because on the ship, the official language is English, so everybody speaks English. I mean, and you know, it's if you don't talk English, you're not on part of our crew. So that's the first thing. All our guides, local guides, are vetted by the cruise manager, so I can tell you that everybody speaks a perfect English, and you know. Most of the people, I mean, France is in 2020, or I mean, in this case, 2022, is not France from the 1970s where nobody even knew what English was. They're like, why you're in France? Why are you talking English to me? That's not those days are long gone. Everybody, you will not have any language issue.
Yeah, I can attest to that from being on board. There was absolutely no issues with language or, I mean, like I said in the beginning, it's an experience. It's hard for me to explain in full the experience that we had. I can tell you, but you won't really know until you experience it. I can promise you that it's going to be well worth your time, every penny that you spend on it. It's a trip that just touched our hearts very much, and we haven't ever talked about a trip so much as we do with this trip. We still talk about it all the time as if it happened yesterday, and it happened a year and a half ago. And
sure.
You know, part of it was the crew, part of it was the destination, part of it was the people we were traveling with. It was just, everything about it was so unique and so special, and that's really what inspired us to want to do it again, to just share it with all of you. So
my other question, Denise, I'm sorry, where would you have to fly into in order to catch the river cruise?
Offhand, I don't know exactly. I'll have to look at
Depends.
It depends on
if you
line. It depends on, you know, there's a few different things where you start, if you do a pre extension, or if you're visiting other places before you get the ship. It just depends on that. So I can talk with you later to you know, based on what you want to do, where the best place for you to fly into would be.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, with the streamlined, seamless process that we have with our department, especially the air department, it's easy to do business with us. And again, Denise and David can attest to that, and that has a positive residual effect for you as our guest on board the ship with that easy to do business approach. So definitely, Denise, have that follow-up call with the clients, provide them information on logistics, and whatever you need as far as assistance, you know, you can count on us for the answers.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, guys. So I think we're good. I think there's been a lot of fun. I told you, Denise, not to worry. This is going to be a casual, fun opportunity to engage with the guests and talk about travel and dream about travel again. I feel we're one day closer to this official nightmare that we're all living in to be over. So let's stay positive, optimistic, and the key thing here, safe and healthy. All right. So we expect and look forward to having you on board very, very soon, my friends. And a big cheer and a toast. Thank you so much for all of you guys joining us this evening, this afternoon.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care, guys. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Welcome. Thank you.